are touching on this issue of child performers and the discrepancy between how child models, fashion models, and other child performers are treated. And this is actually very timely because tomorrow, I am very proud to say that two New York State senators, Jeffrey Klein, who's the co-leader of the New York State Senate, and Diane Savino, who's the chair of the Labor Committee, have agreed to, this was proposed by the Model Alliance, it's something I've been working on for quite a long time, have agreed to introduce legislation that would afford child models, so models who are under 18 who work who do print and runway work, they would be afforded the same protections as all other child performers, whether you're a singer or an actor or a dancer.
We know that introducing legislation is one step and making it law is another. What can others do to support this?
Come on out. It's tomorrow, 3:30 at Lincoln Center. It is open to the public. We have several models who are going to be joining us. Some are well known. And speaking from personal experience about why this is important and meaningful to them and necessary and long overdue, which I think everyone recognizes on this panel. So what would this mean if it were passed into law, which I find it hard to imagine that there would be much opposition. We're not asking for a lot, we're just asking to be treated the same as any other child performer.
It makes no sense that it wasn't established in the beginning, especially in America where there are such stringent child labor laws for performers. Why a model's not considered a performer it doesn't make any sense.
Do we think it's simply overlooked, or is there some political reason as the underbelly of this?
I think it's because it's complicated. I think it's
because it's international?
It's international, and there's a lot of,
I can speak to that because we helped draft the legislation and we did extensive research. And all other child performers have unions. And until we formed the Model Alliance in February of last year, there was no advocacy organization, no labor group for fashion models.
In the U.S.
In the U.S., yes. There is Equity UK has extended membership to models, and that's existed for a few years now. But what would this legislation do? If it's passed, it will mean that child models have basic educational requirements, which they do not currently have. It would mean chaperones on set for kids who are under 16 years old. And it would mean trust accounts, so financial transparency for children. All of these are very basic and necessary. And again, I want to invite everyone here to
in addition to the invitation, just to be clear, then you can go next, Rachel, is because not everyone is going to go there, and there are plenty more people that are here today. Is there a place where they can write? Is there something that people can do to help ensure that this becomes law?
Yes. If you visit the Model Alliance website, it's modelalliance.org, you can sign a petition which is addressed to Governor Cuomo and various other state officials asking that this be passed.
Excellent. Rachel?
I just want to address the reason why it's been so difficult for Equity in the UK or even the Model Alliance, like all the work you've had to put to get membership is I've went in the UK and talked to Model directly. All the girls under 20 have absolutely no interest. They're still convinced, their agencies are still telling them, you're going to be the next supermodel. And they're just like, I don't need that, I'm okay. And once they get to about 22, and they realize how important it is and how it should be, well then, they know that if they speak out, they're worried about getting involved because they might stop working. And then by 22, you kind of start to be at this age, competing with 15 years old for jobs. So you stand back, and I think one of the difficulties to protect models and have model union is really the fact that the major workforce are children. Children for adult modeling and children for children and teenage modeling.
And the fact that you have come out to advocate for only 18 and above
for adult modeling, yeah.
For adult modeling has basically destroyed your career. That takes a lot of courage. It's political activism. How do you take care of yourself?
I do a lot of yoga.
make money.
I started horseback riding.
But seriously, how do you earn a living?
I've been surviving on my last little money. I haven't been paid from Girl Model or anything like that. Like, it's just been out of my heart. I have amazing friends. I have an amazing mom. I moved back into my mom's basement. And people feed me and house me, literally. So that's how I afford. And I have student loans for university.
So today you're in that transitional space, but we'll look forward to hearing what's next. Really, because activism, as we know, comes at a cost. And you are honest enough to tell us what that cost is, that it killed a career that you could still be in because you're still young. So sometimes it is important to take a step, standing in harm's way, and then having the support to make sure.
If I didn't meet the director of Girl Model, honestly, I probably would have never spoken out. But by meeting them, and when we mentioned that it was like, yes, it's Tigran and it's Switch Models and it's the agency in Russia. Well, it's also the scout I was with Nadia's agency. I hugged Nadia, or Nadia hugged me at some point. I mean, these scouts, girls from all agencies and all agencies around the world. I mean, my agency from Montreal is the one that sent me there. So it's when we talk, we can't separate. This is an international problem, really.
Sure. Sandy, I wanted you to talk a little bit about, we saw on the film sort of a downside of what happens in scouting and there's so many, it's multi-layered, that film, because you give people a chance and then sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But what happens in your experience as a scout that might be different from what we viewed on this film?
Absolutely. I have been placing models in Asia for 17 years. And there are two ways to do it. For me, this is not the way. We look for girls, the best way to look for them are girls that are already ready. These girls are way too young and too inexperienced. They don't have photos. It was one thing that really disturbed me about this film is when no bad thoughts for Mr. Switch, the owner of Switch, what's his name?
Messiah.
No bad thoughts for him. But when he was in the car and someone said to him, they asked him, well, why are these girls here if they aren't making money? He could not answer that question.
Yeah.
Well, I can answer that question. I don't send a girl. It is so hard. I've been doing this 17 years. It is so hard to get a girl there that without a book. You have to go ready for Tokyo. That's why they offer contracts. And this is ludicrous. I'm sorry. I'm so disturbed. And this is the second time I've seen this film. And there's so much reality in it. There is. It's scary. That part is scary. But that is not how I do it. And that is not how it has to be done. These girls are not ready for Asia. And there's no way they should be going.
So Rachel and then Maurice?
Yeah, I'm really shocked to know that you would never send a girl that age. But even in Canada, there was this short documentary called Agency, who's amazing. It's a Canadian girl that made it. She went to Japan, and there was a 13-year-old girl from Canada and a 14-year-old girl from the US in this film. And you know, when we say it just happens to a Russian girl and girl from Eastern Europe, it's not real. It's not true. These girls went there, didn't really make money, and were way too young to be there. So it is very, very much happening. And I don't trust that there are going to be always people just like you that are really nice, and that's why it should be general. And what's the rush?
Absolutely. And I also want to say that I am a scout, and I've been scouting for many, many years. But I've never pulled a girl. No, I can't say that. One time I got a girl off the street, but that was only because she was beautiful and she was already a model. I don't want to change anyone's idea, anyone's perspective. This business is not what it seems. You have to have a really, really thick skin, and I don't want to bring anyone in it that does not have the passion for it. Because if you don't have the passion for it, it is not going to work. There are too many other obstacles that come in where if you can't say no to certain things, then you don't need to be in this business.
Maurice?
I think a great deal of what's going on, what's changed from now to when you all were young models in the industry is it was a much more rarefied selection process. Now we're looking at countries, the whole Eastern Bloc that opened up, and a lot of people are taking advantage of poverty, ignorance, which wasn't really, it was there, it was always kind of there, but never to this level and this size. It's really amazing to me. You know, one thing I want to point out about what said before, is make no mistake that 13-year-old girls, 14-year-old girls have always, this is nothing new.
Right.
I remember in 1978, 79, when a cover story was done on New York Magazine called Pretty Babies, and they had 3 girls, do you remember that? 3 girls on the cover, all in real Cosmo girl makeup and hair and bathing suits, and it said, Lisa is 13, Nancy is 14, so-and-so is 15, right next to them. Next to the thing, it's always been there. It's part of the industry. I think Carmen Della Raffici began her career at 15 years old when, was it Norman Parkinson found her. So this is always, the youth aspect of this has always been there. We'll always be there. We're in the beauty business. Let's face it, I don't like to use very young girls and boys, but a lot of designers insist on it. You know. Why? It's because it's the fantasy, it's the illusion. It's saying to the client, this is your ultimate desire, to be this youthful, this dewy. I don't have that going on in my line. A lot of people are obsessed with it.
Sandra, I wanted to, you come from Trump Model Management, and you have a wide array of models who are part of your stable. How do you all make selections for models?
We do actually have a scout who travels the world, but just to go back to, I mean, I completely understand, I agree, 13, 14-year-old girls are way too young. We do not, at Trump Models, represent girls that young. At 16, they should have a chaperone. And I think that parents have a huge responsibility in their involvement too. I mean, just last week I had a family come in, I actually had a casting director who had emailed me to say, can you please meet with this family? I said, I would love to. I wasn't aware that the girl was only 13 years of age. She came in with her parents, and I said, how old are you? She said 13, and she said, I'm going to be 14 soon. Very excited to be able to tell me she's going to be 14. I'm disturbed by this stage because 13 is really, this is not the right place for you. And, you know, I said to her, to be honest, we do not take girls on. We may see a girl at 15, unless they're really 16 with a chaperone, is when we really start to consider them to bring them into the US market. Like I said, we do not represent 13, 14-year-old girls, and we have no interest. I think parents have a huge responsibility in this too, and I actually see Paul and Pat in the audience, and you guys are really fantastic ambassadors in this business to your daughter Anna. I remember when you came into Trump Models, and we're honored to represent Anna and Pat. You're a wonderful family. They came in with very specific, strict rules of how they wanted their daughter in this business, her traveling schedule, what she really wasn't allowed to do before she was allowed to do anything. And I really always remember that. And is that true, Anna? Because I think Anna was probably the one that would have said, oh, but I want to. And Pat and Paul were very strict and said she cannot do this at a certain age. And there were great rules that really represented a very strong family unit. And they really stayed close to their daughter. And going back to what you had said, which is there are a lot of cultural reasons why families make decisions. We're very fortunate in this country that we really don't need to allow these girls to work and start at a young age. Unfortunately, in other countries like this specific movie, their situation is very, very different. And those two, you've specifically targeted 2 agencies here, which I don't feel represent our industry. You know, between all of the major markets in the industry, we have probably a good 50 to 70 agencies worldwide. There are many reputable agencies there too, and there are many honorable presidents of companies like the lady that I work for, which is Corinne Nicholas, who is a human being who takes everything into consideration. There are many good people in this business, and then there are the unfortunate situations where there are 13-year-olds in this business, which to me are personally too young.
Sandra, to the point of speaking about our wonderful family here and the way that they help shepherd Anna, that is in part because you come from the industry and know what should be expected and how to safeguard your child. In the context of most families who are bringing their daughters to this industry who don't know, I mean, most people don't know. They don't know what they should know or not know. I think that's part of why you have the Bill of Rights, part of why Cover Girls for Change. What can we offer to those families, even here where there is more safeguarding, say, than in the Eastern Bloc, that might help to protect young people as they're coming into the industry? So Sandy, and then Sandra, and then Sandy.
I mean, for the 13-year-old that came in, I looked at her parents and I said, because of course the parents are so excited to be able to bring their daughter in. Because of social media, these young girls want to become models at such a young age. I looked at the young girl and I said to her, please go back to school, get your education, come back with your parents when you're 16 years of age, with then a chaperone, let's move forward. The girl was very calm and peaceful at that point to be able to then continue on. It's our responsibility as agents to inform the parents and educate them at the same time with the parents to make the right decisions for these young girls at the right appropriate age and also with the right support system that they need to have. So I think that's a huge, there's many factors and many people involved, and I think parents also have a huge responsibility in these areas too.
Sandy?
Absolutely, I agree wholeheartedly with you, Sandra. I get so many submissions for, everyone wants to go to Tokyo. They think it's, oh my goodness, this is a great place, you can go and make some money, which is true. It's a safe haven place, which is also very true. So a lot of the young girls, this is a great place for them to start, absolutely. But I will not send a girl under 17 years old. Even if she's 18, sometimes it depends on the mentality of the young lady. Sometimes a 17-year-old is ready, even more so than an 18-year-old. So I think the parenting is so important, and I speak to parents every day. And I don't say, oh, I must have your daughter. I want to hear from them. They pretty much have to convince me that this young lady will know how to conduct herself when she's away, thousands and thousands of miles away from home the very first time. I don't want that phone call in the morning. So I will meet with the girl. I will make sure that I can feel comfortable, that she knows how to handle herself under many situations. And also, I don't just send them to any agency. I make sure that I'm very familiar with the agency. I know the owner, and that's why I basically work with one agency in Tokyo that I've worked with for years, that I was with. So I know that if anything happens, I'm covered. I don't have to worry to try to scramble. So the parenting is very, very, very crucial in this.
On the flip side, Maria, I know you started your career later as